Greetings to all and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. Today's episode is about looking for love. As most everyone already knows, it's easy to love the people that we already find to be likable or lovable. The challenge is in learning how to love those whom we find most unlovable, or to find love in situations where it seems there's none to be found. How can we learn to love the people we don't even like and to find love in the situations where it's hardest to see? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We also have a Facebook group, and we do meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time and Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You and I have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week with the Zoom links and information on what we're talking about that week. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as recordings of Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. Just go to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&A sessions. As mentioned, today's episode is about looking for love. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, let our viewers know who you are and where you're calling from, starting with Sonia.
Hey, I'm Sonia. I'm calling from Olympia, Washington. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm excited to get into it with you all.
And you are one of our favorite panelists, so glad to have you back. And Parsa?
Hello, I'm Parsa. I'm calling from Winnipeg, Manitoba. I got into the Law of One like 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, I don't even know. And when I initially got into it, this topic was everything for me. Like my whole spiritual practice revolved around love and the open heart. These days, that's not the case, unfortunately, but I always need to return to it. So I try to do that. I try to do that.
And it's so great to have you returning to the podcast, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you on. Did want to remind our viewers that none of us here are experts or authorities on the Law of One. We are just normal people like you, having conversations about spiritual things that seem important to us. Anything we say can be wrong. You are welcome to disagree with anything or everything that any of us say. If you're already familiar with the Law of One and the entity known as Quo, you might want to skip ahead to the chapter on loving the unlovable. Otherwise, for those who are new to the Law of One, you can think of it as a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one, and that one thing is love. More or less everything that we look at today could be considered a variation of that statement. Everything that we're reading today came to us through the process known as channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, inner planes beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, etc. A channel basically serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through. And in this case, those entities would appear to be of extraterrestrial origin. There are two types of channeling that have been developed by our friends at L&L Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance or unconscious state, as if they are asleep, meaning they are not aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they are saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Ra back in the early 1980s. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but deep meditative state, meaning they're only somewhat aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Quo, starting in the mid-1980s up to present day. Who is Quo? You can think of Quo as a group entity made up of 3 social memory complexes, Ra at 6th density, Latui at 5th density, and Hatan at 4th density. You can think of a social memory complex as a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one group mind. You can think of densities or dimensions as different levels of consciousness or reality, since those two things are so closely intertwined. Imagine, if you will, that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some form of consciousness, as many indigenous peoples have been saying for centuries that they do. We would call this first density. You can think of second density as the level of consciousness of plants and animals. Clearly a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of what we would refer to as inanimate matter. You can think of third density as the level of consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, a significant quantum leap in consciousness above and beyond that of plants and other animals. You can think of fourth density as the level of consciousness of the social memory complex. Again, it would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one single consciousness, clearly a significant quantum leap above that of an individual person. You can think of fifth density as whatever is a comparable quantum leap above and beyond fourth density, and sixth density as whatever would be a comparable quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of fifth density. There is obviously more to that, and if you're interested, check out our episode on densities and dimensions. Otherwise, suffice it to say, the entity known as Quo appears to be a group entity made up of three planetary consciousnesses: Ra at sixth density, Latui at fifth density, and Hatan at fourth density. First contact with Quo was made by the L&L research channeling team back in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984. They have been channeled every month since then, up to present day, by the L&L research channeling team. You can find transcripts of those sessions at the L&L Conscious Channeling Library shown on your screen. Having said that, let's take a look at a few passages on loving the unlovable. On September 9th, 1990, Quo said, "You as a spirit are honored and thrilled to be able to be incarnate at this time. Yes, you incarnated here, each of those in the circle as wanderers with a wish to help others. But because of the opportunities of third density, it is quite typical for those who wish to serve, also wish to serve, to become even more transparent to the love and light of the infinite creator. This, of course, does mean the ability to accept the unacceptable, to love the unlovable. You did not come here to learn how to be loved. You came to this particular sphere to love. If the unacceptability of someone close to you is not recognized as cold-bloodedly as possible, as the opportunity you have given yourself to accept the unacceptable portion both of yourself and the other person, then you shall at least know the direction in which to move." And on July 16th, 1989, Quo said, "Therefore, we ask you to have faith in your own self when you face repetitive problems. You have simply put yourselves into a situation which is a challenge to love the unlovable, to accept the unacceptable, to return the good for the negative, to be blithely oblivious to the negative, and see the good in all, to retain the hopefulness of close and deep association with nature, both second density trees, grasses, and blooms, and third density entities. Once you have been able to come to the heart of the repetitive pattern, you may break it by forgiveness of that which you may be forgiven, and by the remembering of the self by the self of the nature of the self. Each of you has within you the creation and the creator. You are entities to be honored. You are all one, and you are all the creator's children." I love that opening line at the top of the page. You as a spirit are honored and thrilled to be able to incarnate at this time. Me as a person, not so much, but me as a spirit, yeah, maybe. You have any thoughts on anything here, Sonia?
I love that first line too. And it's also a reminder that you, as a spirit, you are here to love. You came to this particular sphere to love. We're not here to learn how to be loved. The challenge really is to love and to find ways to love the unlovable, unacceptable. And I find that it's a matter of perception at times. Of we can't understand situations because they're challenging, and it makes us have feelings about them. And it's important to take a step back and look at the grand scheme, and what the purpose is, and that catalysts are actually good for us. It gives us a way to grow and to challenge ourselves. And a part of also coming here and to help is really that we're taking on the collective shadow, and we're helping to work through with the collective to work through these shadow aspects. And at the very end here, the Kuo says that you're all one and you're all the creator's children. that's another thing. It's like taking another step back and looking at every single person, whatever you want to label them as anything. Ultimately, they're the creator, and they're perfect just the way they are. It's hard to see it in, in the third density perspective, but as a spirit, you readily recognize that each is the creator and each is made of love. So
For sure.
the matter
So
of
many beautiful, important points you were making there about shadow work and how it all comes down to our perceptions. Could not agree with you more on that. Parsa, any thoughts to add?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Sonia, talk about perception. Um, and speaking from people with who are, let's say, more wisdom oriented versus love oriented, and let me take a step back. Within the law of one philosophy, there's this like interesting phenomenon where some people are more wisdom oriented, more, they call it like oriented towards the light or the inner light. These types of people um, might find too much compassion sickeningly sweet. That's in the law of one material. They might resonate with honesty and doing what's in the greater good, not just like sweet words. They might find that pretentious. And then there's some people who are very love oriented, all about compassion and the heart and everything. Anyway, so that's just giving the big picture of people can be love or wisdom oriented. And interesting, you mentioned the aspect of perception. I think maybe that's a wisdom oriented, potentially way of being able to love the unlovable, which is to be able to intuitively infer its purpose. And I say this out of a conversation I had with someone in our group. Uh, uh, some we all love. I don't know, just for privacy, maybe I won't say that person's name. But at that time, she was extremely wisdom oriented. I was extremely love oriented. I was all about service and self sacrifice. She was all about like the higher good and like we're all one and all this stuff. And the way she came to love was through it was a matter of perception, let's say, seeing, let's say, that we're all one, everyone's a creator's children and so on. But interestingly, there's probably another way to love, which might be the more love oriented aspect, to accept the unacceptable, which is to maybe just love from your heart out of faith. And I think we'll get to that in some other passages. But I don't know, just be naive, I guess. Be the fool. Just open your heart and have faith in the energy of that. It's really interesting. To
Yeah, I
address.
appreciate your bringing it up. And I know Quo has said many times that pretty much everyone who came here as a wanderer from a higher density, fourth, fifth, sixth density, down to third density to assist, came here not just to help the planet, but to help to refine their own balances of the energies of love and wisdom, and for some people, power. So, yeah, everything you said makes perfect sense. That there are some who are more heavily balanced towards wisdom, more who are more heavily balanced towards love. And it's for each person to figure out, I think.
And probably more difficult for those wisdom-oriented people to be able to accept the unacceptable. At least it seems that way. I mean, we know this, but just for the viewers, like on Ra's planet, for instance, when they were making their graduation, a big percentage of them successfully graduated. They're very loving, but then a whole like 80%, correct me if I'm wrong, or some large percent, wasn't able to graduate because they viewed this minority that was like so loving as just like weird and like sickeningly sweet. They probably resonate more with the fifth density. So they probably they might struggle with loving the unacceptable. Although people who are love oriented also struggle. I would say maybe Jonathan, you strike me as a more love oriented person, and the love oriented perspective has its own struggles. Those struggles being like the suffering in your heart when you see other people suffering. That's actually where wisdom could help the love-oriented person who sees so much suffering, to yet be able to feel relief, because from the perspective of wisdom, and this is how the law of one philosophy defines wisdom, is essentially to be able to see everything as perfect. Everything is the creator. There's no true harm. Everything is love and light. And if your heart is so burdened with other people's suffering, which for me, I definitely struggled with that. That's like all of my trauma, is that at some point you do need the lessons of wisdom in order for your heart to open again, because otherwise, like how do you deal with all this suffering that you see?
For sure. Yeah. I'm so happy that you see that I'm more balanced towards love than wisdom, because I think more often than not, I probably see myself balanced the other way, and I really need to balance more towards love and more towards open heart. So I'm so happy that you perceive me that way.
You're so open-hearted. You're so open-hearted.
So nice. Well, it's taken a lot of work. I can tell you that's for sure. It has not come easy. I know before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about the blithely oblivious of the negative part in the second paragraph there. And yeah, I think that is definitely something I struggle with because I find it hard to ignore what I see as a lot of unnecessary pain and suffering being inflicted on people with really extreme cruelty. And I have a hard time being oblivious to it. And I think, as you suggested, and as Sonia said, there's different ways to look at everything. And I don't think they're necessarily saying that you should just ignore it and not pay any attention to it. But I think they are saying that whatever you choose to see or not to see, don't let it discourage you. Don't let it make you lose hope. Still remember that all is well and all will be well. That's got to count for something. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say on this slide before we look at another passage?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan, because that's I think an important aspect of this is that we have compassion, right? We have empathy for those that are affected by cruelty and things that a lot of times seems like it can be like it doesn't have to happen that way, right? And I think that's the part that's like what upset me is that I'm like, it doesn't need to be this way. And having to watch it's hard, but I think that the compassion in the heart is there. That's an aspect or a facet of love that's important to have, where we bring in the wisdom, where we balance it, and where we can, use the teachings from Kuo, Ra, our friends of the Confederation, to help us put some words and more thought into this, where we can see like there's more happening, right? There's more, each incarnated here for reasons, and there's work to be done, and we're all part of this. And so it's really just hanging in tight. There are times where you just have to hang on tight and,
For sure.
if you need to step away. And I think meditation, trying to recenter yourself with the love of the Creator is really good too. And for me at times, it's like, I just have to step back and go, Gaia is beautiful. Look at the beauty. I'm sure there's a lot of madness, but look at the beauty of Gaia. I mean, the biodiversity is beautiful. All these forms of the creation that we get to see is beautiful. And, just taking a moment to feel gratitude to kind of balance out
For sure.
the
Yeah,
beauty.
and I think that's what a lot of people miss. If they tend to focus too much on all the negative things, they forget the beauty of Mother Earth, just like you're saying. And I think that's a great way to balance things and remain anchored. Parsa, did you have any thoughts on this? Anything to add?
I mean, so many thoughts, but I'll jump on one thing you said about like feeling the creator's love. This just happened to be super recently, like not super intentionally, but I'm gonna be more intentional about it because it was like really interesting, which is I felt in my meditations occasionally the creator showing me how he or she or whatever, let's just say he, I don't mean to be sexist, whatever. The creator loves different people who are in my shadow. And it was so interesting to see like, oh, like the specific way. And what I've been surprised by regarding this love of the creator is I was surprised. It's like so gentle. Because and I'm sure like in the absolute form, it's like so ferociously intense, and because you can experience that, certain psychedelic experiences and so forth. But there's also this really weird like gentleness to it, the way it like flows and like loves every being. It's so cool. It's like an inner sort of understanding that almost felt like the creator showing me like how he loves other, but interestingly and so sadly, I was like, oh, then can you show me how you love me? But that was not forthcoming, sadly.
Oh, well, maybe next incarnation. Good try, though. Yeah. I am loving the conversation, but I am looking at the clock and realizing we're a ways into this and we're still only on the first slide, and we got a bunch more passages to go through. You guys mind if I go ahead and move on? Take a look at a couple more? Sounds good. On July 16th, 1989, Quo said, "We are building, shall we say, the skyscraper that is based upon the firm foundation you are now laying, the foundation of accepting the unacceptable, of loving the unlovable, of changing the insult into the light touch. You have the control to make these choices at will. Each of you has this within, but how difficult, my friends, it is to call upon it. As always, we move to the suggestion of persistent daily meditation, the listening within, the learning of who you really are, the centering of oneself within the creation, so that no thing is strange and no one is a stranger. Nothing threatens, but only challenges. By loving that little bit of energy which is present to you as unlovable, you subtly begin a process whereby that energy is transformed, so that catalyst may move to a higher plane of encounter, shall we say. And in this way, slowly but surely, you can begin to create for yourself, and we would add for those around you, a safer and safer place of encounter where more and more of the distraught energies of unprocessed past catalyst can be allowed to announce themselves and to present themselves for healing and for blessing." Really reminds me of what Sonia was saying about shadow work a while back. That is kind of what we're being called on to do, I think, as we try to adapt to fourth density, to look at all those things, those catalysts we haven't balanced yet, and to find a way to heal them and bless them. Any thoughts on anything here, Parsa?
Yeah, like always, lots of thoughts. I'll share a technique that I recently made for myself in response to like being like, triggered, a little upset. I actually don't get super upset by this, but a little upset by like driving and people acting weirdly. I know for a lot of people that's like a huge trigger. For me, it's like just a minor one. I still need to like, it's not good that I'm getting a little triggered by this. So then I realized that in our society and culture and like within our philosophical norms, I think sometimes conflate someone having the right to do something, like a maneuver in traffic or whatever, with that maneuver being a manifestation of the good, if that makes sense. So conflating the right someone has to something with that thing being good. And the specific example that comes to my mind, I don't want to like demonize any party in this example, is so silly, like sometimes on like my feed, YouTube or whatever, or Facebook, it's so common. I don't know. It's like almost like a cultural motif. In like airplanes, there's like a person who like is asked to like change their seat or whatever, and they're like, "No, I'm not going to change my seat" or whatever. And then everyone in the comments is like, "Oh, good for you. You shouldn't have to like change your seat or whatever," and so on. So for me, that's the exemplar that demonstrates that, yeah, that person who was asked to change their seat but refused, they're completely within their rights within our cultural norms to do that. But does that mean that's a loving thing to do? People confuse that, I think, often. So
Yeah,
anyways,
good point. Interesting point.
uh,
Sonia, any thoughts on that? Or any? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you still want to finish your thought?
let me just finish, because based on that, the technique is therefore to say when you see something unloving, this is not an overt manifestation of virtue, but it is acceptable and perfect in its own way. So you don't have to gaslight yourself when you see something negative to say it's positive in order to accept it. Probably very involved politically. Like you see something negative, to accept it, you don't have to say that, "Oh, this is like such a loving thing this person is doing." No, you can say, "No, that's like a terrible thing this person is doing, but I can still accept it." You don't need to gaslight.
Yeah, good point. And that is a subtle but significant distinction, I would say, or discernment. Anything to add, Sonia?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I understood that Parsa is kind of like removing these values, these like good, bad, these like values that we like to have, these value systems, which there's purpose, obviously, and I think we need words and things for understanding things, but I think sometimes it's like stepping back and not having to place values on things and like trying to see things from curiosity. And I think that, when we talk about this second one here with the energy is transformed so that catalyst may be moved to a higher plane. I think that's a really important thing here that we're doing. We may not always see it, but I think each time we, maybe a tiny bit of shadow work that we do, or maybe tiny bit of, we're able to accept the unacceptable, or maybe we're able to see this bigger picture in a moment and try to accept what is. And not to accept bad behavior, but just to accept it while keeping an open heart and not having a closed heart during this process. And I think it's part of the healing, it's a collective healing. Each time each of us do this, we are processing it, and this energy does go into a higher plane. And I think it goes back into the collective energy, because we're all interconnected. We're veiled, so we don't necessarily readily see it, but we are all interconnected. Our energies affect each other, and when the collective energy is intense, we're all going to feel it. And I think as wanderers, or as anyone who wants to do this work, you can do this. You can take these things in meditation. You can think of it, contemplate it, and process it through your heart. And
For
it's
sure.
always good work. So
For sure. Yeah, everything you said makes perfect sense. And I think that is all like really important stuff to understand. I think it just reminds me of how much I appreciate the Law of One for being able to look at the world and be able to make sense of it in a way that I would have a really hard time making sense of it otherwise. But if we realize that we are looking at the end of the world in terms of the end of third density world, and we're looking at the beginning of fourth density world. And as Quo has said many times, the Earth is already vibrating fully in fourth density, and our logos has a bias towards kindness or service to others. So it would probably be fair to say our Earth is already vibrating fully in fourth density positive. It's just humanity that's kind of lagging behind and clinging to third density values and third density ways of looking at things. So I think, as I think you're suggesting, that's a big part of humanity trying to adapt to these fourth density vibrations, doing all the shadow work, confronting all of these things that we've been able to sweep under the rug before this, but can't do that anymore because they said fourth density has more light, more truth, more information in it. So you just can't really hide from that stuff anymore. So ongoing challenge.
I really
Anybody? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Jonathan, I really appreciate what you said, because that's really what's going on, is that when things are swept under the rug, right, we're not processing them, but the madness is in full viewing because things are coming up to to view, and it looks crazy in a snapshot. But I think, if you're able to pull back, I'm sure our guides and everyone's like, oh, don't worry, hang tight, this is part of the process. Keep doing what you're
All
doing.
will be well.
Yeah, but I think it's like it all has to come out, and for also a good purpose of it is for others to kind of see it and make choices. And we're having to rapidly make choices right now, and the transition's bumpy, but
For
it's
sure.
going to be okay.
Anything to add, Parsa?
I'm saying I really look forward to that because I really wish we could be more honest with each other. But in society, our society, we are not honest at all. All of social interaction, in my opinion, but feel free to disagree. All of social interactions, in my opinion, are at least to a large extent predicated on manipulation and deception in our society. And
Mhm.
that's so annoying. And it's so annoying. So I really look forward to being able more and more express like the truth within our being, and then that's also how we'll feel like more loved when we're like vulnerable and express that. And we just have to have, I think, faith that in love all that stuff can get resolved. Speaking of which, that's there was a little bit of a, or I thought there was a little bit of a rupture between our relationship, Jonathan, remember? But you disagreed. But anyways, from my perspective, remember, like in the group, I thought that like I had said something and had offended some people in our group,
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah.
then you didn't think so. So that was just my perception. But in any case, I was actually kind of hopeful about that because like, oh yes, I hope this like actually brings us together because I think that's a really real possibility. Like if there's an authentic fight between two people, like authentic, like not bad faith, but like in good faith, hopefully, but maybe even in bad faith it'd be possible, and those two people are loving, there is a real chance that you'll come out of it closer together. And that's what I'm hoping for all of
Sure,
society. Like imagine
for
like
sure,
wars and stuff in the future, it'll actually make people so tight and like the
for
society.
sure. Yeah, and I think that is a good reminder to anyone who might be watching this that if you are not part of any Law of One study group or community, there are many to choose from. I mean, I like to think the Seattle group is a cool group to hang out with and such, but there's a lot of great groups out there, and they all have their different vibe depending on who's facilitating and who's there. And I don't think it's like any one group is better than another. It's just a matter of finding a group of people you vibe with. But as you were speaking, Parsa, it was just reminding me of how nice it is to be able to find people that you can be honest with and that you can be loving with and that you can build relationships and friendships with to help each other do what we came to this incarnation to do. Because, yeah, for sure, in our group, we try to be as honest with each other as we can. And sometimes that means, yeah, sometimes some feathers get ruffled, but we usually work it out. Or somebody leaves. One way or the other. However it works out, all is well, and all will be well. Do you guys have anything to add before we take a look at another topic, another couple passages?
Yes, that people should join your group. It's great. Or
Yes.
actually.
It's fun. There's a lot of laughter. And, part of growing, I think there's a light touch to it, even though sometimes feathers get ruffled, there's a lot of laughter and a lot of love being passed around. It's a great group.
Yeah, you find people that you vibe with, and I can assure you, just about everybody in the Seattle group participates in other Law of One study groups as well, a minimum of one or two others, in some cases many. So there's a lot of beautiful cross-pollination, a lot of beautiful overlapping of our groups, and I just think it's wonderful and delightful. We all gain from it, I think. Enough of that. Let's go ahead, take a look at a couple passages on eyes of love. This is an expression that's been used more than a few times. On January 23rd, 2010, Quo said, "We are not suggesting that you become silly or foolish. We are not suggesting that you cloud your eyes and refrain from seeing that which you see. What we are suggesting is that when you see with eyes of love, then you are seeing whomever you look at as a soul. You are not looking at their behavior when you look with eyes of love. You are looking at their essential being. In the creation of the Father, all whom you see are sparks of the Creator. To see with eyes of love is to be blessed with an awareness that informs you beyond the capacities of the intellect to inform you. And this is helpful, for it grounds that which you see as a personality seeing other personalities. We do not suggest that you stop seeing with all of the ability that you have to link with people, to connect with people, and to draw boundaries where needed when dealing with people that would move you from your center. We are saying that in addition to those normal and everyday movements of personality, intellect, and emotion, you carry with you the love and light of the one infinite creator." Yeah, really beautiful passage there. And I'm sure we would all agree that being able to see whoever you look at as a soul and as a self in another body, as creator in another body, makes a big difference. And that's something I've appreciated about the Law of One. I felt like that a long time before I discovered the Law of One, but to see that this was actually like codified as an entire group set of spiritual teachings, that was a revelation to me in the most beautiful way. Sonia, do you have any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, I love this. The eyes of love. I think it's good for everyone to have a practice, right? To stop and look at others as a soul, not necessarily as their behaviors or as their personalities. And taking a moment, I think that's how we can get to that place of loving the unlovable. And my personal thing that just for me as a mom, um, I there are times where I stop and I'll try to look at others who I find extremely difficult. And I try to think, well, they were a baby at one time. They were a sweet baby. Babies are all perfect. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a
Except
baby.
for the poopy diaper part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you find a way to love that even because babies are just perfect, you know? Um and somewhere along the way that baby got hurt and their defenses came up over time, over and over again. And now you're seeing, you know, an adult who's, you know, that whole idea of hurt people. I think it's like having this balance of love and wisdom, right? And it's like trying to remember that there's things happening on the inside we may not see. We're just seeing a snippet of a person, or we're seeing, you know, this, and we're, you know, placing a label on them. And while our intellect wants to do that, and that's okay, we're also having to balance that with seeing them as a soul. And for me, you know, I remind myself like time is an illusion. That person is still a perfect baby. And, you know, like in the previous passage, how Kuo says the creator's children, it's like we are all the creator's beautiful, perfect babies. And so we just have to view the others in that way.
I've heard
Uh,
Elaine say that many times on this podcast or elsewhere. Did you get that from her, or is that something you both arrived at
from
separately?
who?
Elaine?
No,
Yeah.
no, and I'm not surprised others come to this conclusion. For me, the very first time this happened to me was when after I had my first baby and I was in the hospital, and it's very overwhelming, especially with your first, you know, and as I think as a mom, there's like it's like your whole life changes in in that day, and you can conceptualize it before, but when you're holding your baby, you're like, holy shit,
Yeah.
everything's different. How I view everything is changing, just
Yeah.
in that process. And I remember holding my baby and looking at her and just thinking, wow, this is like this is like I'm looking at God right now. Like, and I'm looking around and other babies, and I'm like, wow, this is like
Yeah.
there's a greater thing I know I feel this way about my child, but I'm feeling this opening of like this greater thing that loves everyone in this way. It's not just my perception of my own baby or how I view other babies, but there's something bigger than us that views all of us.
For sure.
And
It's a beautiful way to look at other people, especially the ones that maybe you have a hard time liking or loving. That thinking of them as a baby and remembering that they have a story. Every individual, however much you like them or don't like them, they have a story that explains how they became as they are today. And when you understand that story a little bit more, I do
And
find that
I
makes
think it helps, like, you know, if you like stories or books or movies, it's like, you know, every villain has a background and you can
right.
kind of see their development. And,
Right.
you know, I think I like these books and movies and things. It's because I'm finding a way to like love this villain and like connect with this villain. And
Yeah.
you see that they're doing messed up stuff and it's not okay, but you're also seeing like,
It reminds me of the Avengers movie. I think it was post Endgame. Did you guys see any of the Marvel movies? Am I talking
Mhm.
to? Oh, okay. One of the Avengers goes into the bathroom and somebody scrawled in graffiti on the bathroom wall that Thanos was right. The guy who basically, in a snap, like killed half of the life in the universe. And it's like, yeah, yeah. You know, he had his reasons, and some people agreed with those reasons too. So, I don't know.
I mean, it's one of my favorite villains is Magneto from X-Men because, you know,
Oh,
you see his development and it's like he has a horrible upbringing, horrible.
interesting.
And, you know, you kind of see it's like he's just acting out in anger. And while we don't want him to do that, and we should probably try to prevent him from doing that, but you, it's a weird connection that you know, you kind of find some love for this villain.
For
So
sure.
it's interesting.
I discovered that as a school teacher when I had students who were giving me a hard time when I was evolved enough and compassionate enough to like have a heart to heart conversation with them and find out what their story was. Inevitably, I found out that, oh, okay. It made it a lot easier to forgive them and to love them, realizing that, oh, I did not know your story. Now that I got a little bit of context for it, I'm with you. I'm on your side. We can do this. Shout out to any school teachers who might be watching this on
It's
video.
beautiful. I think
Yeah.
like taking that moment to approach it with curiosity, where we try to bypass that placing that value of the good, bad, or whatever, and just trying to approach it with like, what's going on here? Let's try to understand more. And We
And
learn
it
a lot.
applies to anyone in any situation of any age, adult or child, for sure. You guys have anything to add before we take a look at another passage? Got a couple more coming up that I think are among my favorites. Let's take a look at these. Whoops, one. This is definitely one of my favorites. From November 16th, 1986, Quo said, "If you see anything except the face of love, you are having difficulties with perception. Forgive and forgive again. Forgive yourself. Forgive any who seem to have hurt you, remembering that you have faulty perceptions if you do not see love in every situation." It's such a beautiful passage. I mean, it's short. There's not that many words to it, but boy, it is condensed. That is so powerful. The idea that if you're not seeing love in another person or situation, it's your fault. You have faulty perception. You need glasses, Confederation goggles, or something. What do you think, Parsa?
I find that so interesting because it was a little bit of a surprise to me, actually. We're all familiar with exercise one of what our god Ra, I'm kidding.
JK.
Yeah, not really, our colleague Ra.
That's much better. Sorry.
Our loving teacher, our love teacher. Ra. So exercise one is seeking the love in the moment, which is the premise of this podcast too. I was really surprised that they later clarified that this exercise is an exercise in purifying the seeker's perception, because I had thought it was more about sort of like bringing in the love through your energy body or something like that. I just find that so super interesting. Not much I can do with that, but it's like an interesting sort of technicality, I guess. Don't know what to do with it though, but
Maybe next incarnation. It's a beautiful thought, though. Yeah, for sure. It is
something
often.
relevant is a practice. Oh, this is very relevant. I called true love, and it's not what it sounds like. Actually, I have the word true love for me represents a couple different things, but what I mean by it here, when I say true behind a word like love, I mean as a practice to very deliberately seek out the love that's actually in your present experience, as opposed to what you might imagine love to be, if that makes sense. True love, as in
Yeah.
like a little bit of like love I might have like randomly here for my coffee or for you guys or whatever, like insofar it's actually real. What I was surprised to find, and this is not theory, but the data from this engaging in this practice, is that like it almost seems like just in a very real way at the core of every like experience or emotion actually is love, like actually, like not just like in theory, but like true real love. It's not like an intense love per se, but like it's like whoa. And it kind of makes sense. Like I guess any value you could say is like a love of something, so you go
For
to like
sure. Yeah, 100%. I think we've got some passages coming up where they're saying basically love is all there is in the universe. There's literally nothing else in the universe but love. And it's easy maybe to hear and maybe easy to accept intellectually, but accepting in your heart and living it, that's a whole nother story. Sonia, do you have anything to add?
I love this quote. The faulty perceptions, it makes me laugh. And it's, a reminder too of like, oh, I'm looking at a narrow angle and that's why it's faulty. I have to try to expand out. And also remember I'm veiled here. And I'm sure, of course, I'm gonna have difficulties with perception. And if I don't understand or I'm not finding it, then I have to agree to myself that I'm just not seeing it right now, but hopefully I will, at some point. And so I
yeah,
think I just try to see my own limitations and accept that that's where it is. And I love that forgive is written quite a bit here. Forgive and forgive and forgive myself, right? I'm going to make missteps or I might not say the right thing at the right time and I hurt someone's feelings. And I need to forgive myself for that. And even though that's hard, and also it's important to forgive others. And it's there's so much at play that that's the best thing we can do. And that's how we can love each other and ourselves, is by forgiving.
Yeah, and I think that is another thing that I can accept intellectually. I can think of the person that I fucking hate the most or that I have the hardest time with or distaste for, and I've already forgiven them for everything they've done and everything that they will do. But I still have some hard feelings in my heart. I still have, yeah, those feelings. And I think that is a whole nother level of applying it that, I don't know, it takes time. I'm working on it. Parsa, anything? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. It's hard. And I know exactly what you mean. I have the same process where I just have to accept that right now is not the time to fully forgive, and I'm working on it, right? So,
It does go back to something we saw in one of the previous passages that I forgot I did want to mention, because they did talk about boundaries. Loving somebody, forgiving somebody doesn't mean you cannot set boundaries and enforce those boundaries. Loving somebody and forgiving somebody who has been an abusive spouse, for example, doesn't mean you have to stay in an abusive relationship. You still have the ability and freedom to set boundaries and say, yeah, sorry, just can't accept that.
yeah. If
I
you're
think
getting,
that is still part of service to others.
I think so. And I think it's okay to step back if there's a consistent if you're being off-centered, it's okay to step back and work on developing,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I think from the law of one perspective, we might even want to say that like it's okay to not even forgive. I'll clarify what I mean. Like, so I had a interpersonal issue with an individual, and then just to protect everyone's privacy, then another individual told me, "Oh, you should forgive that person," and that really pissed me off because I was like, I should forgive that person. So like they did me wrong, and I'm the one responsible to do it, even though I would want to. Otherwise, it's like you saying that actually makes me not want to do it right now.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, within the law of one philosophy, there's no compulsion to love. In fact, or forgive and so on. But paradoxically, as so many things are, like when we give ourselves that freedom, we'll find it in our hearts to forgive, probably. But
There's a compulsion, but there's also a compulsion to be honest with yourself. And if you're not ready to forgive at this time, then no, they're saying, yeah, you don't need to do that. Eventually, maybe. Yeah.
well,
It has to be authentic.
completely pure STO. Like what if we, right, just even to graduate their density, we could have so much like pettiness still within us. And I find it paradoxically liberating to be like, oh, it's okay, I can be like a little petty if I want to, but then that'll make me actually not want to be petty. You know what I mean? Paradoxically.
You're just a real contrary son of a bitch, aren't you?
There's a reason why it's 51%. So, it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Are you guys ready to look at another passage on another topic?
Good.
Let us switch gears a bit and look at a passage on looking for lovers. On November 16th, 1986, Quo said, "May we say that a persistent difficulty in speaking of your matings with your civilization is the great variety of motives for inaugurating and sustaining such a relationship. Almost never is it for the reason that is most closely aligned with the actual function and purpose of the mated relationship. Almost never is suffering, hardship, and trouble used as the reason for choosing a future partner." That's very observant of them. "And yet this is the precise experience you wish to share, for your illusion is created in order that you may suffer and learn. That is the purpose of there being an illusion, for self-consciousness must be awakened. The third density begins with a sense of self asleep, and happiness and contentment do little to awaken the soul. It is the interactions with others that bring grief, suffering, loss, and trauma which create the opportunities you most cherished before the incarnation. Thus, it is well to choose the mate you want to suffer with, and for the mate you feel will pull and pull as strongly as do you to carry equally the burden of illusion. Certainly it is well to choose in love. Yet, my children, do you think you are given your physical vehicles as they are for play? Yes. Sorry, that's just me. That was not Quill. We suggest that in the divine play that is your sexual network of responses, there lies the great wisdom of bonding and creating a reason to consider one particular mate over another. The choices are often too many, for one may seem good, and then another, and then another. And so we observe most sadly that the motives for your mating often include the interest of the physical red ray center and often also include desires for benefit. This is service to self orientation, as is an unenlightened active red ray, and will lead to exactly the kind of catalyst for which each in actuality enters into a mated relationship. I love this passage, and I believe we've used it at least once or twice before in podcasts. But I just think it's funny that they say so rarely is suffering used as one of the motivations for choosing a partner. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Was not thinking of that. That was not on my radar. You have any thoughts on this, Sonia?
Um, well, right off the top, for me, the what really stood out is that sentence, it is the interactions with others that bring grief, suffering, loss, and trauma, which create the opportunities you most cherish before the incarnation. I think, I mean, I feel like that goes with any person in your life that, it's the thing you want to avoid, right? Is like is the suffering, the grief, and whatever. But those are the things that help us grow and even help us bond with each other more. I think when we overcome problems or things, I think that it helps us grow together as people. And I know, in a mated relationship, for me and my husband, I mean, those are the times that were difficult are some of the times I look back on and go, wow, it helped us bond more after we got through it, and it's like there are times where I was just relying on faith to get through difficult times. And, it's like sometimes things all come together, lack of sleep, newborn baby. He's working 12-hour days. It's just like all this coming together that just
You have
makes.
two children.
Yeah, now we have two, but like, when you had your first and never slept, didn't sleep at all at night, and then he's working extra, and so it's like things would come together in that way that would create a lot of tension, and it would make us like not want to be around each other. We're just annoyed with each other a lot. And, I think looking back, those are the times getting through those and working through that together made us really strong. And
For sure.
there's a bond that's stronger because of it. And yeah, I think finding a partner to suffer with is is a funny way to put it, but it's, you know, we're good friends because of all that.
And
So
that's what I was going to say. As you were talking, that's what was coming to my mind. It is a little bit of a trope, a cliche that, oftentimes spouses refer to their partners as their best friends. But I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think finding someone who you can really lean on each other as best friends. I mean, it helps if they're good looking too, but probably the more important thing is that you're really good friends to each other and can help each other through the suffering. That's super important, I think. Parsa, any thoughts on anything?
Yeah, lots. I can't speak to anything regarding relationships. I'm not planning to be in one myself, but something for interpersonal relationships that I've recently um, developed or discovered for myself that's been so useful. And I don't even want to suggest that anyone else should use it. It's just really helped get over like issues and like hurt feelings when they do come up. And how can I say it? Like, let's say you're in a relationship and then you hurt someone. Not that you intended to hurt them, but it just so happened that they got hurt. Within this framework, it's like it almost doesn't even matter what your intention was. You can still, first of all, apologize, but apologize without taking on the blame for yourself. Like, I'm not saying sorry to put myself down. I'm saying sorry because I love you and I hurt you. Of course, you can also, if you say that in the wrong way, that will be offensive. But if it's from the heart, maybe it'll be accepted. Then to say sorry and then also to provide some restitution. And in my experience, that could just be very like small and symbolic. Um, and that really opens up the way for both people to forgive each other. Because I think like um, with strangers, we might be more comfortable like forgiving regardless of like the equation of service of how much that person gave or to us and how much we gave to them. But with our friends, when we completely open up, I could be wrong, but I feel like to completely like open up as like friends within our own circle, I don't know, it's natural to feel that like it's like we're both giving to each other, and then if there's like a lapse in that giving, if there's some harm, at least symbolically it's nice for it to be balanced. But that restitution could be done symbolically but without even necessarily like blaming yourself for it, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
for sure. Oh, no, it makes perfect sense. And I
So
think it applies equally to friendships as to romantic relationships, because it happens in both cases. Somebody's going to say something that the other person was hurt by. I mean, if you've been had a relationship for long enough, and as you said, you can apologize without necessarily saying, putting yourself down for it, but taking responsibility for it and acknowledging that, yes, I'm sorry that I hurt you. And then, like you said, the restitution or retribution of honestly stating your intent to not do that again. Yeah, and I think that's super important.
or that or anything, I was even thinking like a little like, whatever that person likes, I don't know, whatever their love language might be, or anything. But yeah,
Right.
exactly, stating you won't do that again, that's huge. And that's sort of what Raw did with humanity to an extent. They weren't intending to cause harm, but they did accidentally, even though they were trying to be of service. And they
They didn't mean to turn spiritual teachings for the benefit of all into weaponization used for service to self. It just happened. But they have forgiven us for it. And they're
and
doing the best they can to make restitution.
and they're honored to try to provide restitution, even though their intentions were always pure. And if they could, I'm sure they would profusely apologize. And I think that in their soul, they're actually happy that they can provide that restitution, because when you're that loving, to like even think that you might have harmed someone without possibility of redemption is just so painful. But you can like feel relief that like no matter how much I harm, I have the opportunity to make restitution in this life or the next, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful thoughts. Really appreciate your sharing that. And Sonia, everything that's been said, really loving the conversation.
So
Did anybody have anything else to add on
it
this?
just came to my mind that, of course, and I think it's helpful to reiterate that in this philosophy, everyone is forgiven, even the people who've done the worst things, right? So if any viewers has done the worst things, they're completely forgiven. They're viewed just as equally as everyone else.
Yeah. And oftentimes, as has been said already, the hardest thing is to forgive yourself because you have to forgive yourself too. That is part of it. And not easy. I believe we have a podcast episode coming up on that in the not that distant future. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add before we look at another passage, another topic?
I'll add one thing, since you briefly brought it up, like physical attractiveness. I think that seems to be such like a thought endemic to the human condition that really like stops us from loving ourselves and each other. And I mean, that could be, honestly, I think that should, or not that should, sorry, it could be a whole podcast, because I feel like really needs to be talked about, really needs to be loved, so that everyone can love themselves in however way they want to, like as a soul, as a creator, so that like we can put aside the bullshit of like, oh, like you look more attractive, you're more deserving of love. Because I think there's actually something like really interesting about the connection between beauty and love, because things that are beautiful are easier to love. Now I'm speaking metaphysically to an extent, right? Like God, like the most beautiful, like when we see something
Well, in
beautiful.
power, for sure. If you happen to be fit the standards of what our consensus reality society calls beautiful, you definitely have more leverage, more social power currency than someone who's considered ugly by
Potentially
conventional standards.
more love even. But are you
Sure.
more or less deserving of love based off that? And it could even be difficult for someone who is attractive and gets that love, because they
Right.
might like love is fake, they'll fear losing that love, and so on. So it's just
Right.
such unfortunate, like
Or they go, this seems inauthentic because it's not me inside, right? It's
Right.
like,
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, it does go both ways. I'm sure people who are extremely sexually attractive, I wouldn't know, but I'm sure a lot of those people do find it challenging because nobody takes them seriously. Nobody thinks about them beyond whatever they may gain from their sexual attraction.
Here's the interesting thing. Some people do though. That's also this I don't want to be too presumptuous, but there is a philosophy, there is an energy in the universe, and there are some people, however imperfectly, who do try to embody the a universal love that's not doesn't love someone because of like anything they do or are or look like or even how good of a person they are, but just I don't know, it's just the energy of the heart. It has no thought of like, oh, you're more attractive, you did this, or like you're more rich, you're more whatever, like you did like so many good things, you deserve more love. That's not, I don't think that's how the heart, obviously we
For
would probably
sure.
not how the heart works.
No, and I think that's a very fourth density way of interacting with others, which is to look at their vibrations, look at their energy as opposed to, what they look like when you see them in a picture or in the mirror or something. I think that's very fourth density.
And speaking of vibration, one of the exercises they give is to like balance people's vibrational imperfections with an understanding of their vibrational perfection. So even vibrationally, oh, this might be too much. We don't want to discriminate vibrationally, I would say, you know.
No, you're just taking it to a whole nother level. And I hadn't really honestly thought about that. I was just thinking about people whose vibrations don't particularly care for either. Sometimes that's the way it is. People have vibrations that are just not compatible. And it's kind of like liquids of different densities being poured into a tall, skinny glass. They just naturally separate out. And it doesn't mean one person is better or worse than the other. It just means our vibrations are just not particularly compatible. It's okay. It happens.
It makes sense.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and take a look at a few passages on the idea that love is all that matters. On 4/20, 1986, the entity known as Latwii, who was high at the time, I'm sure, said, "All that is of importance is that ye love with no expectation as to how that love shall be received. That is beyond your responsibility. If you can love, you have fulfilled your own ability to respond to all that comes before your notice." Yeah, they were definitely high when they said that. On September 15th, 1996, Quo said, "When one gazes at whether one who does great things in the world is superior to one who does nothing greater than re-diaper the baby, or take care of the pussy cat, or simply get through a difficult day without complaint, one finds they are doing completely congruent acts because what is important with any act is the love with which it is done." Really love both of those so much, but that second one is definitely the one that really just hits home. We've said so many times in other passages where they said someone who's cleaning the toilet with love in their heart is doing as much as somebody who's channeling or healing, and might even be doing more if they've got more love in their heart than the person who's doing the healing or the channeling. And I just find that such a beautiful, super empowering thing, I think, for anyone who feels like they have no power in the world, no ability to make a difference. Doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing. If you do it with love in your heart, guess what? You're making as much difference in the world as, a president of a powerful country or something like that. Super beautiful. Parsa, any thoughts on anything here?
I'll share, this is very relevant to me, maybe to a few other people listening, some insights I've had about yellow ray balancing. A lot of my catalyst these days has been yellow ray, like lots. I could go to bed like with my stomach like growling as I'm like processing, not out of hunger or anything, but just like as I'm like processing yellow ray catalyst. But um, understanding that our purpose, or this is my perspective, I'm sure there might be like higher perspectives, but that our purpose in the yellow race sense isn't what we usually think of within our sort of like capitalist, like individualist indoctrination as like one thing that we have to do like ourselves that we're like amazing at or whatever. At least some people think like that. But it's defined in relation to the team we're part of, which is all of us, which will eventually be the social memory complex. So our purpose is collective and we all have a role to play in it. So I don't know how to explain it, how profound that's been for me for balancing my yellow ray. I don't know how I can communicate that, but just understanding that purpose, that we're all part of the same team. We're all part of it. Your success is my success. Like imagine, like I don't know, like from the wanderer model, like as wanderers, whatever. Let's say such a thing that like it was like a Russian roulette type of situation with whose service actually is able to get manifested, which it sort of is. It's like a crapshoot. Like a bunch of wanderers incarnate. A lot of them have no idea who they are. A few of them awaken, and then they have a disproportional amount of overt service. But it's insofar as it's just like a probability type of thing. Every person sort of engagement with the process is just as valuable, if that makes sense. That's
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad. Sorry, I can kind of communicate. But the point is, we're all
Yeah, you know, we've used the metaphor or the visual a couple times on previous podcast episodes of it's like we've been on a sinking ship. The ship is third density, but the ship is like going under. And so we're on a lifeboat. And guess what? You didn't get to pick the people you're on the lifeboat with. You're just there with a random mix of people. Some of them are like really nice people. Some of them are literally Nazis and want to kill you. And yet you're on the same lifeboat together. And guess what? Just like you said, everyone has a purpose for being there. Everyone has something to contribute towards, in this case, the birth of the fourth density world. And so in spite of whatever differences you might have, we're all in the same boat, literally. And the challenge is to look for the love and the forgiveness and all of those things. So appreciate you sharing that. Sonia, any thoughts on anything?
Oh, I love these quotes. It's this idea that, it's service isn't a competition, right? It's wherever you are in any given moment and whatever form of love you can give in any moment. It's really about the open heart. It's really about this practice of keeping the heart open in anything that you do. And for me, it's like, life gets busy and I get frustrated. And I realize when I'm frustrated, my heart isn't all open. And, it's like I'm going down a mental checklist of all I have to do for the day. And it's like a lot of the times I just have to stop and go, oh, I'm doing this one thing. I'm going to be present for this one thing that I'm doing. And I'm going to do it with love. And I'm going to think of others while I'm doing it. Like, I'm cleaning the house or whatever, and I'm thinking of like, oh, my family will enjoy a clean house and they'll feel good about it when, they're home or whatever. And it's just anything as simple as that can be doing something with an act of love.
And super powerful. Makes a difference in the world, makes a difference in the universe, that you are doing that with an open heart. To be able to incarnate in this fucking world as it is right now, and to be able to have a open heart like ever, I think is a fucking miracle. But to be able to do it like more than once and actually like start making a habit of it on a daily basis, super powerful, super magical, super good stuff happens after that for sure.
I'm reminded of
Definitely triggers the same thing in others as well.
Agreed. I'm reminded of this quote from Kuo. I don't even know when it was, but it was something about even smiling at a stranger when you pass by is a service, and it's,
Right.
it's
You
just,
never know.
yeah. And it's really just about being love. It's like a Ram Dass thing, right? Like be love now.
For sure.
So, yeah.
For sure.
And, Parsa, what you said, I think is really important is that, we are part of a collective. And, I think it's easy to forget that. And it's something I remind myself often, and there are lessons I see happening. And I go, whether it's a lesson for me or not, doesn't matter. It's for the collective and I'm part of the collective. And, I have to do my part in finding love in this moment for whatever difficulty it is. And,
For sure.
you know,
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, there's a passage from Quo that I really hate because it goes against my worldview and that I personally disagree with it. But they said something to the effect that the social memory complex that's forming isn't going to be just the people that you like and the people that you agree with. It's going to be made up of people that you disagree with a lot. And it's like, okay. kind of goes back to what Parsa was saying also about that's the way it goes. That's part of what's there. And it is a privilege. It's something we're really excited about, whatever was in that first passage. It's a privilege to be able to be part of that, for sure. Did you have anything to add, Parsa, before we look at something else?
Yeah, sure. I'm surprised that's your perspective. I am so excited to see you join with your ideological enemies, let's say, because I just think
I'm sure you are. Yeah.
it's so much good that comes out of that. For instance, like the backstory behind Hatan, who is probably like the main central person in Quo, because like probably like Ra is like feeds a little bit of information to Latui and Hatan, and Latui does a little bit to Hatan, and then Hatan's like the main voice for Quo, probably. So Hatan allegedly they had similar human bodies on their own planet, and they learned the lessons of love through warfare. And were tribal groups, and they were fighting each other. And now they're the Confederation specialists in love, probably because of how much they fought each other.
Isn't that beautiful?
So,
Yeah, for our viewers who don't have the context for it, there was one session that I was thinking of. I'm not sure if it's the same one you were thinking of, but is where Hatan was asked to give a little bit of their history. And they did basically say, we almost killed ourselves through warfare. We used all of our resources to fight and for warfare until we didn't have anything left. And we finally discovered, I don't know, maybe you can remember this passage better than I can, but they said basically, we used all of our resources for war. We didn't have anything left. So we basically discovered the hard way that we had to depend on each other and support each other. And that is why they are now in fourth density, the density of unconditional love. And they are the group that provides that base vibration of love to the Quo complex. Do you remember that the same way, Parsa, or do you have anything different or anything to add to that?
I also remember. I think it's profound that they're saying, like, I guess I could be wrong, but they're in situations of famine actually, and they learned
Oh, yeah.
a hardcore lesson of love, of loving your neighbors as much as your own family. Like imagine that. And then they said they learned that to such an extent that they grew less need for food, maybe like less calories, whatever they needed, because they were like nourished by like the love and light of the creator, something like that. It's so hardcore. Like imagine you're starving and like you share the food and stuff.
Wow. I don't remember that, but that makes perfect sense to me. And that's why they're the perfect mentor for planet Earth, as we seem to be headed down that same path for sure. Really beautiful sharings. As always, I'm learning a lot from you guys, so thank you for being here. Anything to add before we look at another passage, couple passages?
I'll add something like technical about what Sonia's saying, like maybe so this idea that like every service is just as important if it's done through love. Maybe that's more than just a cliche. Based on the law of one models, it seems that like they literally say at one point like the if you praise the creator, the service rendered is incalculable. So if we take that at face value, it seems like when you do like infinite service, it echoes in infinity in the creator, and that's why technically we could say it's equal. Maybe it's not equal or whatever, but like at least it's so large it's not even, you can't even compute it because it's infinite.
Yeah, beautiful way to think about it. Yeah, for sure. Sonia, did you have anything to add before we look at a few more passages on the same topic? Sounds
You,
good.
you have,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
as a spark of the creator, you are powerful and you can choose to use that power by finding love in every moment. And by doing so, I think you can inspire others by just your being. And we don't have to give advice. We don't have to really do anything except try to be or experience love in any given moment. And that's how others are inspired by your being. And, I think that's another important aspect of being here right now in Lake Third Density. Um, you know,
Yeah. Yet another thing that's easy to understand intellectually, not so easy to integrate at the heart level and to apply. So, yeah, could not agree more. Okay. Let's take a look at three more passages on the subject. And I know these are near and dear to me. On October 16th, 2010, Quo said, "You are one with the clouds and the rain, the fire that warms the hearth, the water within your body, and in all of the bodies of water within the planet. You are one with the birds, the animals, the flowers, plants, rocks, each other, and the Creator. There is only one thing in the universe, and that is love." And on February 10th, 2008, Quo said, "All is one, and that one thing is love." And on June 28th, 1987, they said, "All that remains from any experience within your illusion and all that is ever recorded within the nature of the soul is love. Whatever experience of love one is able to create and to share within any relationship or experience within your illusion is remembered and is gathered as the true harvest of the incarnation. All else is but the means to this end." You know, if I was smart, I would make this the last passage because that's a great one to end with. But I think we've actually got more after this. We could spend 2-3 hours talking about these three passages. There's so much beauty in there that I cannot find the words for the life of me to express it. I did want to note that the second one, all is one, and that one thing is love. I think that is actually the only place in the channeling archives where it is said exactly in those words. And that is the wording, of course, that was on the slide way back when I was doing the background information on the Law of One. But like we said, everything else could be considered some variation of that statement, and these three all seem to be saying it in different ways. Did you have any thoughts on any of these, Sonia?
Beautiful collection of quotes. This last one is my favorite. I have it posted up near my coffee machine and I read it every day. And I love the simplicity of it, but that there's so much in it in these few sentences. And to me, it's kind of like for me, it's like a recentering of like, this is my goal. This is why I'm here. You know, I'm here to help as much as possible and create experiences that I can share that are love. You know, anything I can. And there are times where I don't even think I'm doing anything like that, but you know, it's just and you know, if you go up to the top one, you are the clouds, you are the rain, you are Gaia is in you, and you are everything. We're all interconnected. And you know, for me, that's another practice I do where I try to remember that because I'm failed, I might forget, but that it's there. We're all one with each other. And go on a walk. If life is crazy, take a few minutes, go on a walk and look at the trees, turn off your cell phone, whatever. And just I do a thing where I just try to look at a tree as a person. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? I'm sure I'm weird to everybody else in the neighborhood, but you know, I'm just that weird
Why is the weird lady talking to the tree, Mama?
you know, like there are times where I can tune in and I feel a presence there and like that they're there with me. And when I can tune in like that, it's a really beautiful experience.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And I did want to thank you for sharing that last passage with me, all that remains from any experience, because you shared that with us in one of our Zoom sessions or something months ago. And it is the one and only quote passage or raw passage that I do actually have printed out on paper and that I do actually have taped to the wall. It's such a beautiful, like you said, there's not that many words to it, but the power of it, that the only thing that's recorded in your experience is the experiences, the lessons you learn in love. That's the only thing that you take as the harvest of this incarnation beyond this. And that everything else you do in this fucking incarnation is really just a means to that end. That really changes the way you do everything on your daily life if you are really internalizing that. And yeah. Parsa, any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, sure. I just think it makes a lot of sense if you think that the purpose of the whole universe is just an exploration of love. Because if you were God, wouldn't you want to do that? Like, what else could be better than that in a sense? Like, if your love, unpotentiated love, to explore every possible form of love, which then you could also see why anything, if I mean, if you resonate with this, that like any exploration of love is worthwhile just because how beautiful and profound love is, even love of the self, even confused love. Um, wouldn't you want to explore all forms of love because that's just how beautiful and powerful love is? So then that also goes back to our previous conversation, like no service ultimately being better than the other, because even if, let's say, Ra gets to experience a much more intense form of love, wouldn't you also want the more subtle forms of love that we get to enjoy? All of them are beautiful. They're all like little pieces of like art.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that is yet another thing that I really appreciate about the Law of One, that it has helped me look at people that I would have otherwise thought as evil or really bad and realize that no, they're just the negative end of the battery, and the negative end of the battery is no worse than the positive end of the battery, and it is how the one infinite creator learns more about itself by experiencing the biggest extremes of both the positive and the negative and the light as dark as possible. And that in their own way, those who are on that negative path are really being of service to others. That's not their intent, but that is the side benefit of it, that it helps the creator better understand how far you can go into the dark, how far you can go in the negative end.
This is like a subtle point that my guides actually kind of like drove me to. It does say in the Law of One that the negative polarity sincerely believes that to serve the self is to serve all. Like we don't see it because, like, let's say we are, or we feel like we're getting attacked by these like negative entities, like they're like trying to kill us or trying to scare us, so we see them in battle mode. But probably like in their own like little like circles and stuff, they're probably more chill. They actually like there's something admirable. They like think they're serving the creator by serving the self, like and they probably like genuinely believe it. That's what my guys were telling me, because I always thought of like kind of being like so dark or whatever, but maybe they're kind of like chill, you know.
I'm sure Thanos did not think of himself as a villain. I'm sure he thought he was doing everyone a favor.
Yeah.
I'm sure Hitler did not see himself as a bad guy. I'm sure he saw himself as a good guy. And I'm sure fill in the blank person that you think is a really bad person, they probably don't think of themselves as bad people. They probably think, yeah.
well, if everything is love and the universe is everything is made of love, you can kind of track their lack of love back enough that it goes to love, right?
Right,
It's really the fundamental thing is love, whether it's lacking or present.
right, right.
And I think that in the grand scheme, it sucks to say it from this perspective, but I think they're providing a service in this game we're playing, right? They're the
Yeah,
character that it's giving the light more depth. We
yeah,
really learn the meaning of all these facets of love through this service they're providing, even though it's, through a lack of love.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is pretty much the heart of third density, is to, as best you can, make those discernments between what you perceive as service to others and service to yourself, service to self, and choose which way you want to go, choose who you want to affiliate with, choose who you feel like, yeah, I'm on this team, and who you feel like, yeah, I'm not on that team. And it doesn't mean that one is better than the other, but at some point, there are forks in the road, and you do need to make some decisions, choices about which path that you're going to take. It's okay.
And I think something important for us to do or be careful of is to even psychologically not give our consent or assent to be enslaved by the dark. It's such a like nuanced, subtle thing, right? Like we acknowledge the perfection, but we don't assent our free will to them to enslave us. And we do view it as appropriate to resist them and even fight them. And that actually does say that in the Law of One philosophy to some extent. It's like a very like subtle thing going on there.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we're saying about setting boundaries. I mean, you can love somebody, you can forgive somebody, but that doesn't mean you have to let yourself be enslaved by that person. It's like, yeah, Yeah.
We
But
can
that
see
is
the
part of that balance of energies that we've talked about. And it is so easy to get caught into the trap of fighting the wars between the light and the dark, which unfortunately, as they've said, at some point, it carries into fourth density even. At some point, some people realize the futility of that and realize the value of letting go of that. And I mean, that's certainly something I'm still grappling with all the time, for sure. Sonia, was there something you wanted to add?
I agree. It's something I grapple with. And, I think that discernment and working on your discernment's important so that you don't really fall into these traps. And when we do, it's part of the process. It's part of helping us learn and develop, things like develop our own discernment. We can see whatever pattern is set and try not to fall into them. So,
Yeah. It always brings me back to Groundhog Day, the idea that we're all kind of caught in this loop of repeating and repeating and repeating and seeing if this time we've been given the rare, precious privilege of one more time. See if you can make different decisions this time. See if you can break that pattern that you just seem to have a really hard time breaking and be able to move on to that next level. Beautiful movie, and I'm always going to throw that in any chance I get because I love pop culture references, and that is for sure one of my favorite movies. We are about at the end. Did you guys have anything to add on this set of passages before we look at one more? Sounds good. So let us end by looking at a passage on finding love. This is going to take a couple slides. On February 8th, 2025, not that long ago, Quo said, and this has been edited for brevity, a person identified by the letter M asked Quo, do you have any guidance for staying more mindful of the mindset of seeking the love in the moment? Quo, we would point out that within this query is the ever-present dynamic of the third density. For if holding love and discovering love in the moment were easy, even for the seeker who has walked the path through many incarnations, then the gifts of third density would not be available to the seeker. For it is in the difficulty, it is in the contrast and the friction where the essential quality of experience that the Creator is seeking can be found. For the Creator has cast out its creation in this attempt to hide from itself in its true nature, that which you may identify within the third density as love. If love were already apparent, the Creator would not be able to play this game of life with itself. It must shield this knowledge from itself, and in doing so, has manifest all of creation that you currently experience in this moment as the third density. But we also understand that as a seeker within the third density, there is the strong desire to more and more hold this perspective of the Creator and the true nature of love in every moment. It is this desire that informs the question that you ask that we find to be the most essential and important quality to cultivate within the self, to recognize, to concentrate on, to meditate on, to pray upon. For you will, as you have experienced, fail many times in finding that which you are seeking. You will stumble. You will feel misled or feel as though you have gone astray. But the most consistent guiding star that you can find is within the self and within the heart. And you can identify it as that desire to find love. And so we would encourage any seeker struggling with the difficulties identified within this query to remember that love can often be very hidden, and that the seeker has patterns and difficulties that keep it from holding this perspective. When this occurs, we suggest to the seeker to turn inward into the heart and not attempt to force a perception of love, but touch again that desire to find love and recognize that this is the desire of the Creator, and that in touching it, you can find love within that moment through the fact that you desire to find it. Ah, fuck, that is such a beautiful passage. I get teared up every time I read through that. It's so beautiful. It's so profound. This one, they took a little bit more wording and sentence to get to. And yet the beauty and the powerfulness of it is so profound. The fact that the fact that you desire to find the love, that's the love that you're seeking in your very desire to find it. And that creator is playing a game of hide and seek with itself. Because if it's too easy to find the love, the creator gets bored. The creator doesn't really enjoy it that much. So the harder it is to find the love, the more the creator enjoys it. And the fact that you're even trying to find it, that's the love that you're seeking. That's just so beautiful. That's the passage that I want to end on for sure. Parsa, any thoughts on this?
Oh, I have like a very enthusiastic thought. Just as you're tearing up, something so funny. One time, I think like my camera's off in our meditation group. I found myself so shocked that I was like crying so much in appreciation of your beauty, Jonathan. That was crazy. But I was like, what? I'm bawling. So even if like we don't see the beauty in ourselves, the creator sees it, other people see it. I don't know why you're crying. Maybe you think you've failed a lot, but from my perspective, your soul's so beautiful.
Well, you weren't in our group last Tuesday, clearly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I'll share a practical technique that I found for finding the hidden love. First of all, they mentioned the heart. Sorry, this is going to get really practical, but this was like a big part of my practice like, a couple years ago, like really big, like every moment almost. I was like working on this and practicing it. Um, it could be helpful to think of the heart rather than love, the heart being a place where love is found naturally, so you don't have to force it. That's how I define it. I mean, there are nuances. I think we don't need to talk about this, but it is possible to say that there are different forms of love. But whatever, let's keep it simple. In the heart, you authentically find love as opposed to like searching for it as a concept. Then the question is, okay, how can you find the love in your heart? The technique I developed for myself was heart channeling. The heart, amazingly, is an energy field actually that's localized where the chakra state is. It's not actually like in our physical heart. It's more centered based on like my experience, everyone's experience. And it might sometimes be like so hidden that like you can't discern it. But if you try to get it to speak as an exercise, you externalize it and you're like, oh, for the first time you might see it. A very important point. A lot of people, if they try this, the first thing that might actually come up when they're trying to speak from their heart, as in thoughts, like channel, what does your heart want to say? The first things that might come up are a lot of pain. And so you'll actually see the pain that's blocking your heart. And you can conceptualize it as like the Law of One philosophy does, as the inner chamber of the heart and the outer chamber of the heart. And that outer chamber of the heart, you're holding so much pain. And if you speak from the heart, it's, I think, actually speaking from the inner chamber, and you hear that voice, and you might be surprised to find that that voice is entirely positive. That's the interesting thing about love, especially from people wisdom oriented. Why the hell would you even want to go in the heart? It's something that's completely positive. It completely redeems all bullshit and all negativity, all suffering, all aging, dying, all disease, all wars. Somehow, amazingly, it's utterly positive. And the Law of One, they talk about it. And so the technique is channeling the heart, and I found that profoundly useful. Interesting data.
What a beautiful thing. I have never heard it expressed that way, but I mean, it all makes perfect sense to me and is really beautiful, profound.
It was actually, I got inspired by one of the channelings. It was actually like, I think a S Social Memory Complex, or like a group that had just like graduated, and there were the inner planes, and they basically talked about like channeling their heart. I was like, oh, that's such an interesting idea. So I tried it. Absolutely profound in terms of being able to find the hidden love. Absolutely the most profound thing I've ever found for that specifically.
Yeah, so beautiful, and a great reminder that it is a beautiful blessing that there are so many different sources of spiritual teachings and inspiration, not just from LNL research, but many other channelings from other groups. And we never get into those in our group, our podcast, just because there's so much to focus on just in the LNL material. But yeah, obviously, there's lots of other great material out there elsewhere too.
This is LNL. This was LNL.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was just covering for you just in case. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was an entity that had just graduated. I don't remember their name, unfortunately. But
I
you
was
know,
going to say, do you remember who it was?
I do
Interesting.
not. It's one of those because they channel a bunch of entities. Like Quo's the most common, obviously, but occasionally they bring other. This was probably one of the least, probably the lowest, one of the lowest on the list. Or maybe they channeled it once or twice or something. I don't know.
It wasn't Yada, I can tell you that. Gary said there, I think Gary did a count, and I think he counted like 35 different entities, Confederation entities channel, which is super surprising to me. I didn't think there was more than like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something. Yeah. Sonia, did you have anything to add on anything here?
I love this quote. There's so much in it, and it's so beautiful. And I think that I like that it's longer because it really hits on all these different things that are really important when it comes to finding love. Um, Earlier on in it, it talks about the difficulty, the contrast, the friction, where it's essential quality of experience that the creator is seeking. And, that it's hiding, things are hidden, right? So that we can find them. And I think it's really like authentic seeking. You're finding it through, imagine like digging around and digging around. Every once in a while you find this gem and you're like, wow, and you found this lesson that's given you, a lot of gold. And I it hits me hard. Like while you're reading, I was trying not to bawl because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it just resonates so much in my heart.
Yeah.
The fact that we are the creator hidden from itself on a bumpy ass ride, and we're trying to get to the place we're going, and we'll like lose a tire sometimes, and it's messy, and somehow the mess is beautiful. And through this process I think it kind of goes back to that thing where you find like the villains, and you find love for a villain, and it doesn't make any sense, and you shouldn't, doesn't seem like you should, but it's just the messy ride that we fall in love with and through this process. And I think that it really makes learning these lessons so authentic. And just know that every time you're suffering, you're giving a gift to the creator in learning more about itself. So it's not for nothing.
No, and that also is another thing that is so profound, so simple, just a few words you use, and yet so profound that whatever you're experiencing and suffering is really a gift to the creator, helping the creator better understand itself. I know for folks who are new to the law of one, God is referred to as the one infinite creator and also the one original thought. And the implication is that, the Big Bang was basically creator sending out a billion sparks forever, trying to saying, go out, search, experience, do whatever it is you do, and then whatever you learn, come back to me, bring me back what you have learned, and I will love it. Doesn't matter how good or evil or light or dark it was. I will really appreciate your adding to my understanding of myself, because creator has been around for a really long fucking time, for lack of a better word. And creator has been always been able to find love eventually. So it's playing this game of hide and seek. I'm gonna hide the love as best I can, and I'm really enjoying the finding it. And when I find it, it's like that's great. But I found it. So now I gotta go back and try to play hide and seek again. It's such a beautiful, twisted, disgusting, frightening, terrifying, and magnificent thing. It's just everything all in one. It's really something.
It's beautiful.
You guys have anything else to add? I think this was actually like the last passage. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add on this?
Yeah, just to add on a little bit, I think through this hide and seek process, it's really like you're uncovering all these facets of love, and each facet that you experience, you're digging in deeper, the meaning of it. And I think too, like just from being here in the third density, every time we suffer, it grows our compassion for others. And it gives more meaning, I think, from our own suffering to learn how to love others in any given moment and, how to show up for others. And I think that when things are easy and there's no reason to grow or love, it's like, compassion's not that important or whatever, but it's through that hardest seeking is through that suffering. And it's just if you're in a moment, we all have them, and you're like, this really sucks. Just have that voice in the back of your head that tells you it's okay. There's a purpose. You're growing. You're like working out a muscle right now. And the creator is so proud of you for doing this. So just keep on trucking.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of something they said in the first passage that might have skipped over, where they were saying that even if you cannot love the unlovable, at least if you know which direction to go in general to get there, that's good enough. That's good. And that's, again, super simple, but super powerful and profound. Parsa, any other thoughts you wanted to add on this passage?
Is this the last passage?
It is.
And no, because what you both are saying is absolutely perfect. Let's end on that.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. Miss having you on the podcast. Gonna have to have you on again. Sounds good. So, where do we go from here? What are some takeaway lessons that we might remember from our time together? I have 6 to suggest. 1, again, if you're unable to unlove the unlovable, at least try, at least know which direction to go and do the best you can. And that is good enough. If you're unable to see love, faulty perception because it's there. You're just kind of not seeing it. You need some goggles or something. 3, believe it or not, choose the mates that you want to suffer with. That is probably the best way to decide who you want to be mates with or friends with. 4, love is all there is. It is literally all there is, and it is literally all that matters. Everything else is just bullshit, as far as that said. 5, what's important is the love with which you do whatever it is you do, whether it seems to others to be a great thing or whether it's like super trivial. It's the love that you put into it that matters. And lastly, the love that you seek is actually found in your desire to find it. Spend a lot of time putting together that list. Sonia, any takeaway lessons of your own you'd like to add? Any last thoughts, reflections on this?
You covered it all. I would think for me, the only thing that comes up is just be patient with your process and with yourself. And time really helps, and it's hard, but just hang in.
That is a super important lesson to remember, the patience. So easy to get impatient, especially in traffic. Parsa, anything to add?
No, actually, I would just reiterate patience. There's no compulsion to love, no compulsion to forgive. It's a difficult process, and it's very noble that anyone ever even tries.
So important, so profound. Again, thank you so much. Well, as you know, of course, we're not done yet because you are not here just to talk about looking for love. You are here for a pop quiz. Pop quiz, of course, is something we like to do at the end of our podcast, just to kind of end on a fun note and maybe look for loved one connections in pop culture. Since today's focus was on looking for love in the most unlovable people, I thought it would be fun to have a pop quiz on unlovable movie villains. This is something I think Sonia alluded to not that long ago, but yeah, indeed. It was not as easy to write this pop quiz as you might think, because it's easy to think of a lot of movie villains, but there are a lot of movie villains that people actually like. A lot of movies villains often have a certain charisma. They are likable, lovable in their own particular ways. So for this pop quiz, I tried to think of movie villains who are more creepy than charismatic. or charming, and who you probably wouldn't love if you were like with them in person. So I'm going to ask you three questions about three movie villains, see how many you can answer correctly. You who are watching on video, go ahead and say your answers out loud. We can hear you through time space. Are you guys ready for your first question?
No, but okay.
Let's
Good.
go.
Here's your first question. Who was Christopher Nolan's first choice to play the Joker in The Dark Knight? Christopher Nolan, of course, being the director of the second movie in the Dark Knight trilogy. Who did he originally have in mind? Was it A, Joaquin Phoenix, B, Robin Williams, C, Willem Dafoe, or D, Heath Ledger? What do you think?
I feel like we were just talking about this recently.
Were you? Nice.
I forgot.
Did the veil of forgetting get dropped here?
I'm gonna go with C.
Nice. What do you think, Parsa?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'll just go Robin Williams. It seems a little like counter what I would think. I don't know.
Do you watch movies? Are you a movie goer?
No, not particularly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good to know. The correct answer is D. Apparently, Nolan had Heath Ledger in mind from the beginning, but there was a period of time where he hadn't really signed on yet. So all of the above were considered for it. Joaquin Phoenix, Robin Williams, Willem Dafoe were all considered for it at some point, but Heath Ledger won the part. And of course, he really did a legendary performance as that character. Have you seen that movie, Parsa? Have you seen The Dark Knight?
I believe I have, yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
Have you seen it, Sonia?
Oh yeah, I've loved Batman since I was a kid. I watched the cartoons, the 90s movies, and he as Heath Ledger as Joker is amazing. I mean, I don't think any of us knew what to expect, and I mean, he just blew it out of the water. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the violent one, like super violent or no?
Yeah, he blows things up. You know.
It's less violent than a Quentin Tarantino movie, that's for sure. But yeah, there's violence in it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, supposedly when he did the party scene where he entered a big party where the Bruce Wayne character and everybody else were Michael Caine, that was his first time seeing Heath Ledger as the Joker, and he had a line. He was supposed to say something as Ledger came out of the elevator, but he was so struck by what he saw, he like forgot his line. But they kept it in the final cut of the movie just because it was so good. Yeah, such a good job of playing a really villainous character. He has his own charisma. I'm sure there are a lot of people who think, in a way, yeah, he was pretty cool. But I don't think you would want to really hang out with him in person. He would just be, hard to love in person.
And Joker's wacky. You never know when he's being serious. Yeah, there's like deception. So you wouldn't want to hang out with him. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But no, the actor who played that character, and he was in Brokeback Mountain also, which I think that's a pretty phenomenal role for a heterosexual actor to play. Just an amazing, from the Law of One perspective, he clearly had a really beautiful incarnation, even if it ended earlier than most would think. Ready for your second question? How about another unlovable movie villain? For the Harry Potter fans out there, who said this about Dolores Umbridge? Quote, "One needn't be a child to remember the really scary teacher, the one who terrified us so badly that we dreaded the walk to school in the morning, and we turned the pages partly in fervent hopes that she will get her comeuppance, but also in growing fear of what she will get up to next." Who said that about Dolores Umbridge? Was it A, Stephen King, B, Rick Riordan, or C, R.L. Stine? All noted authors of children's literature, in case you weren't aware of that.
I'm gonna take a guess and go with C.
Nice.
I'm gonna go A, only one I've heard of.
Nice. R.L. Stine wrote the Goosebumps series. Rick Riordan wrote the Percy Jackson series, I think, and Stephen King, of course, everybody knows. Yeah, correct answer is in fact Stephen King. Apparently, for the release of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Entertainment Weekly wanted to give another famous author a chance to like review it and share thoughts. So Stephen King watched it, and yeah, he referred to Dolores Umbridge as, quote, the greatest make-believe villain to come along since Hannibal Lecter, unquote. And he was not referring to Voldemort. He was referring to that character. Have you guys seen that movie? Have you seen her in that movie?
It's
What do
been
you
so
think,
long.
Sonia? Do you remember anything about her?
I don't remember that
She
much.
was fucking creepy. She was really, really creepy. You didn't see that one, did you, Parsa?
I saw it, but I would not be able to remember. I kind of want to see those scenes again now.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jonathan. What's your take?
Oh, I think the picture just says it all. She just presented herself as somebody who was, in a way, very proper, very much like, say, oh, I don't know, a Christian conservative woman who's like prominent in politics, let's just say. And I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. I'm just saying that was kind of the vibe that I was getting from her. But yeah, she was definitely really cruel and definitely enjoyed hurting people. And you just have to watch it again to see. But yeah. And apparently, the actress who played her, Imelda Staunton, she's won multiple awards in Britain and in Academy Award nominations and Golden Globe nominations, and has a long, long resume of performances in musical theater. So apparently, she's a really cool person, a really cool lady. But boy, in that movie, she really played a bad person really effectively. I can't think of anybody who would look at that character and say, "Yeah, I really love her." Yeah, yeah. Are you
I
ready
think
for your
she's
last
in The
question?
Crown, right? I think.
What's
Isn't she
that?
in The Crown?
Oh, I didn't hear.
Isn't she the queen in The Crown?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's another series on what channel network?
I don't know. I think it's on Netflix at one point or another, but
I wouldn't be surprised. Her name is Imelda Staunton, Staunton. So anyone who cares, go ahead and look it up. Otherwise, how about your last question? Who did the Coen brothers originally want to play the role of Anton Sugar? Probably mispronounced that. In No Country for Old Men. Was it A. Woody Harrelson, B. Mark Strong, C. Benicio del Toro, or D. Javier Bardem? Javier Bardem is the person who got the role. The question is, who did they originally have in mind for it?
I'm gonna go with C, just to guess.
What a great actor. So great. Yeah.
I want to go with C. I don't know any of them, but his name sounds cool. Okay, let's go to C.
Nice.
We're
Nice.
the same team, I guess.
You just don't watch any of this shit. You're just going along with somebody who seems to know more than you do about it. He is a great actor. He was great in The Usual Suspects. He was great in Sicario. He was great in, well, I haven't seen The Phoenician Scheme yet. But I heard he's great in that. But no, the correct answer is Javier Bardem. Apparently, the Coen brothers wanted him from the start, but there was a period of time when they weren't sure if his schedule would make him available yet. So I believe they actually asked Mark Strong for if he could do it. Do you guys know who Mark Strong is?
Mm-mm.
He was a good guy in the Kingsman movies. If you ever seen the Kingsman Secret Service movies, which are really good, he played a good guy really well. But he played a bad guy in the Robin Hood movie that had Russell Crowe in it, and he played the bad guy really well in that movie. So yeah. But Javier Bardem got the part. Have you seen the movie No Country for Old Men, Sonia?
Yeah, he did it so well that at the time I watched it when it came out, that at the time anything I saw with him after that, he freaked me out. Like he did it so good that I'm like, he freaks me out.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, he said he didn't really want the role because he said he doesn't like violence and he didn't like the violence in the movie. But apparently, the Coen brothers really like worked him, and because he really wanted to work with them because they are great directors, he accepted the role. And they said it was his reluctance to take his distaste for violence to them made him a perfect actor for it, because they wanted the character who could have a total detachment from violence and do the most heinous, horrible things without having any sort of attachment to it. I haven't seen it. I generally try to avoid doing pop quiz questions on movies I haven't seen yet, but this character is so well known to even folks who haven't seen the movie that, yeah, yeah. Do you know anything about this character, Parsa? Do you know what we're talking about?
I don't, but I want to. He looks really cool. Looks like he'd be a great villain.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I have watched some YouTube clips of him in it just so I had some context for it. And yes, he plays somebody who just totally happy doing the most cruel, heinous, violent things, and there's just no emotional investment in it. He just does it, which I would think is key to the service to self path. You have to be willing to do the most cruelest thing to others and not really care, have no remorse.
Well, someone's,
Go ahead.
I keep doing that. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think what they skip a committed STS would have to skip the heart, the green ring, right? So that
Right.
would make sense that they wouldn't feel,
Right.
compassion or whatever.
Right. 100%. Yeah. And again, as we've all acknowledged, it is also considered a legitimate path by the One Infinite Creator. And the One Infinite Creator loves that character, that person, as much as any of us here on the Zoom call. So suck on that and meditate on that. Panelists, has always been a joy hanging out with you. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To you who are watching this on video at some time in the near or very distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We are sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the One Infinite Creator. Adonai, namaste. Say goodbye, panelists.
Bye. Love to you all.